Welcome to Refine in Public. I'm Methi Falpula, and this podcast is a safe space where I'm choosing to be honest about what it really looks like to heal, unlearn, grow, and walk with Jesus Christ in real time. This isn't a podcast from someone who has everything figured out. This is a podcast from someone willing to stop hiding behind perfection, overthinking, survival mode, and performance. For a long time, I kept waiting until I felt fully healed, fully prepared, fully polished, or fully ready to start speaking. But I'm realizing that some of the deepest refinements happen while we're still becoming. So this space is for people who are tired of pretending, the people learning how to renew their minds, the people unlearning old versions of themselves, the people trying to choose accountability over blame, healing over hiding, and Jesus over the world every single day. And yes, sometimes I use ChatGPT to help organize my thoughts because my mind moves fast and I tend to drift. But the stories, convictions, lessons, struggles, and reflections are all genuinely mine. This is simply a tool that helps me communicate more clearly and stay grounded in the conversation. So whether you're listening in your car, at work, cleaning your house, going through heartbreak, rebuilding your life, healing your mind, or just trying to find your way back to God, welcome. You're not alone here. This is Refined in Public, and we're going to walk through this process of becoming together. I started this podcast because I believe that if there's anybody outside of this podcast, the other side of this phone, because I'm currently recording on my phone, believe it or not, it's a 13 Pro Max. And so I had all these things where I was just like, you're not ready yet. You got to get these tools. You got to get all these things in order for you to be prepared and for you to be able to sit here and have value, have worth. And now that I'm like just listening to myself, I'm like, girl, just shut up and do it. Cause I do my yapping sessions already on TikTok. So for me personally, it's almost like just reframing the setting to a podcast. And I decided to do it where it's just from my voice memo on my phone. And I have this little, I don't even know what the name of this mic is called, but I got sent it from TikTok Shop. If I figure out the name, I'll link it down below. But honestly, none of these things are advertised. ChatGPT, all the other stuff that I've been naming on here, not advertised. I'm not, girl. Methy is solely funding all of this, okay? And the platforms that I'm using, they're free. So I was just like, hey, why not? I have some knowledge. There's some things that I've unlearned and some things that I'm willing to share. So why not? Especially if I feel like it'll help the other person on the other side of this phone or this podcast, wherever you're listening from. So my thing is, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to constantly think about starting it. I'm just going to freaking start it. And I've been wanting to start it with so many different people just because that's how I am. I've always been somebody that like relied on other people. And I think that's why I started using ChatGPT a lot more recently. Because it's almost like talking to someone who can't, find the words and that is able to fill in those gaps for you. And ChatGPT kind of just helps reel it in for me. So that's why I really do love ChatGPT. It helps me structure. It helps me to refocus. So yeah, and I also wanted to stop hiding behind preparation. Like, girl, how many times you gonna sit here and start trying to prepare this? Sometimes you just gotta throw yourself in, and that's how you learn the best. I've always been a person who tends to start something and then, she ends up like dropping that one thing and then goes with another thing. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go, but I definitely hope and pray that it goes the way I intend it to. Even if it doesn't, I'm also cool with that. I will pivot. I will just do what I need to do. The reason why I even called this podcast Refined in Public, clearly it means I've went through my own refinement with Heavenly Father. Long story short, because if you're on social media and especially on Instagram and you follow me, then you kind of know the whole thing I'm going to touch on. It's just The reason why I can't go fully in depth about it, I can only speak from my own perspective, is because there's a lot of people that were hurt in the process, and I cannot speak for them. No matter how much I sit here and think I know, how much I assume that I know, I cannot speak for them. So that's why I'm just choosing to just focus on my own refinement. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully somebody on the other side of this is like, okay, I love it here. And they decide to stay. So if you're that one person or two people, shout out to you guys. I love y'all. And just because of you guys, I will keep doing this. I also had to understand that social media really made me open my eyes more. I was very humbled, humiliated, and just honestly desperate. I ended up becoming so desperate that I was like, look, everybody keeps talking about this Jesus. Mind you, I thought I was a follower of him before, before all of this happened. It wasn't until I truly had to lay down my ego. I was like, not even lay down, I was stripped of my ego, stripped of my pride. And I pretty much just, like I said on a few of my posts and that I share with a lot of people that I come in contact with, I truly had a broken heart and contrite spirit. And that was the only reason why I was like, okay, people are talking about this Jesus. I don't know who he is. Clearly, I don't know who he is because who's coming to save me? Nobody. At this point, it felt like nobody was coming to save me. And so I started just speaking out loud to him. I'm not saying prayer because even with everything I was dealing with, I was so afraid to close my eyes sometimes because I felt so unworthy. I felt so like just shame, guilt, embarrassment, everything. I felt everything that I could not even close my eyes at one point. The only reason why I was closing my eyes because my eyes were bawling. And so that's when I was able to actually like speak out loud to him. You know, it's like when you're talking to yourself and you're like just talking out loud, you know, just saying like if this is truly what it is, if they're saying that this is what you can do, then take it from me. Truly take it from me. That's pretty much where my starting point happened. And this was almost 3 years ago. So yeah, and then I just got tired of being, a perfectionist. I mean, outwardly, like trying to act like when I put on these new clothes, it made me this beautiful, amazing person that people were going to be drawn to. The way I was talking, the way I was doing my makeup, the way I was, a lot of external things that I was like, oh my gosh, if they see me this kind of way, they're going to love me. They're going to choose me. And that's where I was slowly humbled and humiliated because it's like, girl, no amount of outward things will ever suffice. When I tell you, like, literally nothing this world could offer me was going to suffice that void that I had in my chest, in my heart, just everywhere. I felt like I felt like I was a cheese. I felt like, those cheese that have those craters in them. I literally felt like that. I felt like I was pouring from one end, and once I was trying to close that hole, another was opening. And everywhere I just could not get it together. I couldn't hold myself together. No amount of things on the outside are going to fix what I'm missing on the inside. Not even it's so I have to be so honest, and I have just hear me out on this because I know for most people they would think that your kids and your spouse would be able to fill that hole. This is just Mephi's personal experience, my personal perspective. That couldn't hold me together because I blamed, I was blaming everybody, and then I was also blaming myself, and I just didn't know what to do with the blame. You know, when you're thinking worldly, it's like, where do I give this blame to? If these people that I'm trying to give it to aren't taking it, where do I give it to? Because I don't want to take it. It's too much to bear. It's too much to sit here and face and look at and listen to and really work through. Like that's that's what I mean by, like, it was so morbid that I was like, they would be better off without me here. Truly. That is exactly how I felt. Now, obviously, I'm keeping it uh, um, rated PG right now because the layers that I can go through on this, very, very much morbid, very much deeper than how I'm explaining it. And obviously, because I'm out of that mindset, I'm able to come to terms that, like, that was just how I was feeling in the moment. Also, in a weird way, I feel like in that moment I could understand people who have given up. It's that morbid, and I don't know how else to put it, but it that's what was going on. And yeah, I'll probably get more into that later on, but yeah, I wanted to unlearn the hurt that I was feeling. Um, I truly wanted to be refined from my hurt because I was like, even though that's how I'm really feeling right now, I know that once all of this subsides, I will be able to have a clear mind and a clear end goal on what it is that I need. But right now, it was so hard to, like, push everything out. Girl, like, if you ever heard of the Moses story, parting that sea, that's what it felt like for me. Now, maybe might be getting that wrong, but I'm just saying how he was able to part that sea. That's almost how it feels like for me mentally when I was going through all of that. Because it was like, no, it would really have to take a miracle. It would truly have to take a miracle on my mindset right now because that's how dark it was getting for me. But also, if you kind of understand the story and if you have heard it, which I feel like later down the line, I'll be able to be more transparent about it. But like I said, there were so many people involved. I don't want to speak or say anything. I don't even care if it was even posted online. I'm not going to speak for them or what they said, what they meant, or how they truly felt because I could never pinpoint it exactly because I'm not them. And also because social media has exposed me in that way, it made me come to terms with, okay, people don't, they're not going to see things from my perspective. And it's silly of me to think that because we all aren't built the same. We all aren't, the things that I'm willing to go through, the other person on the other side of this podcast might not ever experience something like that. And so, it's hard for you to understand something if you've never actually been through it. Me personally, I would never wish this on anybody. And I'm not saying just because of what the damage has done. It's just, it's a lot to bear. I think anybody that goes through anything that's life changing, it's a lot to bear. And so you understand that, like, even your worst enemy, you would still be like, no, don't do that to them because that's how awful it feels. I had to understand that survival mode, you get comfortable. And so when you get comfortable in it, when you're confronted in it, it's very hard to be aware of. Very hard to be aware of because if you're not aware that you are in survival mode, it's less likely of a chance that you're going to be able to work through it because you can't even detect that it is the survival mode. Accountability becomes necessary. If you can't be accountable for your own actions and what you've done to have these domino effects, and I'm speaking solely from my own perspective. Sorry, when I say you, I'm meaning myself in third person. It is very essential and necessary. I take accountability no matter what. Because I can only take accountability for what I need to own and what I need to confess that, yeah, maybe I wasn't the best person. Maybe I didn't look at things, how I should have. from a whole perspective, because, I'm so worried about my own trauma, worried about my own wounds, worried about stuffing things down that I don't want people to bring up unless I'm ready to confront it. Because when you come to Heavenly Father in Jesus Christ, girl, you're gonna have to do it regardless, okay? And that is just my pure understanding from my own walk with Him. And then when I was able to do that, I finally was able to see the world in a whole different lens. I think what I want is to allow people to witness the process instead of only, showing public versions of me. I think I'm just here to plant the seeds of what it is that I'm trying to do, and maybe for someone out there who is looking for the same thing. But I'm not God. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus. You don't have to answer to me. I don't have to check on you to make sure that you're doing what you need to, because that's not my job. I can sit here, offer my support. I can be a helping hand. But if there are some things that you got to go through alone, I'm sorry, that is what you have to simply go through alone. Because when I was going through my relationship with Heavenly Father, it was a very, very lonely road. And I think it was needed that way, because I used to be someone who just needed to be needed by somebody, wanted to feel like I mattered to somebody else, even if that means I didn't care about my own self. I was putting other people first, other things first, than my own family, my own self. When you're trying to step in and try to be Captain Save a you know who, yeah, the roles are mixed up. Because there's a difference between helping and trying to act like you are the sole source of what that person needs. And so there are just some things we have to just learn and understand through Him and no one else. This is just my own real understanding with Heavenly Father, that once it becomes something that, like, we're really condemning other people for versus allowing them to go to Heavenly Father. But I think when we project that onto other people, it's off-putting. It doesn't help. It actually does the reverse of what we're trying to do. We got to meet them where they're at first, and then we could sit there and decide for ourselves whether or not we want to pray in private for them, fast for them. Because realistically, those things for me personally work a lot better than me out front telling somebody that they need to do X, Y, and Z. Because it's like, no, they have to come to terms with that their own self. And even if they don't come to terms with that, I, as a friend and as their family member, I have to come to terms with that as well. Because it's not my job to sit here and tell people that you're not living the life that you should be, or the life that I think you could be. My intention here is not to call anybody out or say anything that makes them feel less of a human. I wanted to also share that it helped me, be exposed to even my motherhood, how I'm parenting. It exposed me to the pain that shaped my reactions to things, how I blamed my wounds for too long on other people, pointing to other people outwardly versus going inwardly. And I think that's important for me, because a lot of the times I will self sabotage. I will, feed into the doubts, have like these expectations, and, feel humiliated because I'm putting myself out there. But I'm just like, hey, if I put myself out there and no one even cares, what's the big deal? And then if there are people out there that care, I just feel like I'll find my people along the way. And I think that in and of itself is more than enough for me. I feel like when I'm so worried about the validation, it really takes away from the purpose. And and the goal and the understanding that I have with, just this newfound mindset that I have. I personally, my prayers are always to see things through his lens, not through mine. Because mine always tends to get foggy. It tends to get distorted. It tends to get distracted by everything that I might be dealing with, whether it's throughout the years I've been here or with the little micro things that are happening in my day to day life. I I am banking on the fact that nothing is going to go my way. I am banking on the fact that even though I have this new found love for Heavenly Father, my kids most likely won't walk the same walk as me. And I am okay with that. Obviously, I'm going to try my best to lay the foundation down, but at the same time, to sit here and think that just because I'm working on my salvation, that automatically helps my kids' salvation is kind of silly to me now. I understand that anything could happen. We see it on the news. We see it on TikTok. Actually, we see it on TikTok, Instagram, and everything else before we see it on the news. Because honestly, I don't know who's watching the news, but I'm not watching the news these days. And even if it's fake news, if they build up a story good enough, just like some of the stuff that happens to us in our real life, when someone is putting up a good story that's good enough, the information will seem factual. So, you know, just understanding that I had to come to a realization that even if no one gets to hear my perspective, I took it to the person who matters most. And he heard my side. And he knows and seen my side. And so, yeah, if anything happens, anything were to happen, at least I know that much. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers that we're going to get to. Obviously, we're going to do it one at a time, step by step. And I'm still unlearning, unhealing, just because, I'm working through a lot of things. That does not mean that I truly got things figured out, like I said in the beginning of my podcast. I absolutely know nothing. I feel like I know only a pinch of what anybody else knows. So I'm just sharing what I know. I'm doing the best with what I know. And yeah, if you like it, I really would appreciate that you stay tuned. Look forward to the next episode. But for now, that's all I got for you. So thank you for tuning in. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day.